And also, in exactly the same mode, how a family member has put their hands up to bring in the rest of their family. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Terina, whose story is just so familiar, and it's just some incredible things happening with their family as well, and through the cancer experience. So if we can welcome up Terina Cowan and her auntie.
Not yet, Auntie, not yet. Kia ora, koutou katoa. My name's Terina Cowan, and I am the niece of Kina, Maurice Cowan, who passed away from prostate cancer in 2010 after he was diagnosed in 2005. Before I get into the nuts and bolts of my presentation today, I'd just like to acknowledge Numa. I knew Uncle Tere. He was my basketball coach when I was 10 years old. And I think it's an indication of this network that we have, not as just Māori or Pacific, but as people. And we all know someone who's been touched with cancer, and we understand the role that you've played as a caregiver, Numa, and it's tough. And I'd just like to say on that point that as health professionals, don't forget the caregivers, not just from the emotional side, but also from a health side, and that perhaps we think about when our family come in who have been diagnosed with cancer, when they come in and have their health checks, that you make sure that the caregivers are getting their health checks as well, because it's stressful, there's no sleep, and that's something in our family that we're really, really mindful of, because we've had family members get sick who are the caregivers or die before the person who's actually been diagnosed. So I just wanted to put that in there. I'm not saying that you're looking unhealthy, Numa, you're looking fantastic. But just something that you should really be mindful of. Also, speaking after me is David Tell, and I also met T today. We know Tama McGrath. He was a best friend of my uncle, Kina, and we're really proud of the work that you guys are doing, and we're happy to meet you today and support what you have to say. So what I want to talk about today is really legacy, and the legacy that we leave behind as a family, the Cowan family, but also the importance of family. Now, in 2009, I went to Australia and I visited my uncle, and he was really healthy. He was upbeat. He loved dragon boating. He paddled for Australia. He loved sport. And he was really disappointed by the lack of information that was available that was targeted at men like him. So it wasn't just a Māori or Pacific thing. He was strong. He played rugby. He played sport. He was physically fit and physically strong. And it was just a lack of information on his behalf, and not going out and getting those checks and asking the doctor the right questions. And he was really annoyed that he'd got himself into that. He was also an educated man. And by all means, he could have accessed that information, and he just didn't. It didn't register in his head to go and get a check. It didn't register in his mind to go and maybe get things checked out, make sure everything's okay. And that's what got him in the end. It was him not taking the responsibility or the ownership to even go and ask. So here we are today, 5 years later. Uncle Mori passed away in November of 2010, and I'd gone to see him in August that year. And he said, I really want to do something. I want to make sure, and he was really specific, that Māori and Pacific Island men get their checks, and that he created an initiative that promoted this awareness, because it was already too late for him. And he looked at me, and I thought, oh God, I love my uncle, I really want to do something for him. And I looked at him and I said, Uncle, can't we just raise some money? Because working with my family is difficult. There's 11 siblings, everybody wants to be the boss, and I just thought, can't we just throw some money at this? Can't we just go out and do a fundraising thing, please? And he said, no, because it's not about the money. It's about engagement, and it's about us taking ownership of our own families and making sure that we get our checks done and that we're healthy. So begrudgingly I agreed, because you can't say no to a man who's dying, you just can't do that. And I just thought, okay, go back to New Zealand, let's see what the family wants to do. So I went back and we had this meeting, and I said, okay, Uncle wants to do this dragon boat festival, and he wants everybody to paddle, and he wants us to raise awareness, and he wants us to get out there. And there were fights, because everyone wants to be the captain, no one wants to follow, everyone wants to do this, that cousin goes off and does that, and then, you know, there's so many of us. And I just thought, is this my legacy? Is this what I'm carrying? And if you've ever had to organise a family function or event or even dinner, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know, there's the cousin who wants to be the leader and she's not because I'm the boss. And, you know, they just don't get that. And then you've got the cousins who don't show up. And then, so you're dealing with these different dynamics. And I think with the health workers that we've come across, it's really, what's been successful is that they've understood these dynamics within the family group. That there is the leader, that there is that we've all got these different personalities, but we also have a role in our groups. What was different about our family and what gave us some success with our dragon boating initiative was that the leadership changed. I'm talking today, I'm 28 years old, I've got 11 uncles and aunties, as well as numerous cousins, and they've given me the opportunity to speak before them. You don't see that normally, and it's an indication that things are changing within Pacific Island and Māori families, and that from a health promotion perspective, we need to really identify this. Who are the key messengers? Who are they? Well, actually, in my family, it's me. I'm the one who drives the key messages. We've got someone who runs the team. But if you were looking from an outside perspective, you would go for my uncle. He's in that health demographic. He's 60 years old. He should be getting his health checks. But he's not the right person to be delivering that message to the rest of the family. And I just want to share that actually the women run our family. It's the women. And I'm not even going to lie, because I know that, I think that you'd be familiar with this. We drove my uncle to the doctor. We rang him and said, have you been going to the doctor? Have you gone to get a check? Have you gone to get a check? We're the ones who, you know, and we're also the ones who are left behind. And that's why I've invested so much time, because I want my dad around. I want him to be there for all those family milestones, because my uncle's not here. And he was only a year older than my father. I think actually that's the investment. And that's why I am a target market that you should be targeting, the families around the actual men who are supporting them and who are following them on their journey. So that was one thing that we learnt that we wish we had known, that it was going to really challenge our family. There were going to be fights, but it was going to be worthwhile in the long term, and it wasn't going to be short. We've been paddling for 4 years now. This is our 4th year in the Dragon Boat Festival, and it doesn't get any easier. What's really unique and what's our point of difference as far as a cancer boat is that no one in our boat has cancer. Because what you usually see is cancer survivors come and paddle in the Dragon Boat Festival, and we were really supportive of that, and we still are, but we're really something different. We're happy that there are no cancer survivors in our boat, and we want to keep it that way. And in the first couple of years, we were able to pull from our immediate family, and that's what we did. Over the next couple of years, we started bringing in friends and family, because, and the reason why we started with family first is if you can't get your own family right, then you've got no business, and that's what we thought. We had no business going out and telling other families how to be healthy, or other people, if our families were still not healthy themselves. And that was the challenge that were presented with, because everybody wanted to do their own thing. Everyone was so out there. So before we could even get to the health promotion, we had to get everyone in the same canoe, literally, and paddling in the same direction. And I tell you no lie, when we first went out on our first practice, we sunk in the harbour. And I was not surprised. Annoyed, but not surprised. You know, in dragon boating, it's 20 people paddling at the same time with precision. You know, and we have these things called power calls. And so you go down for 250 metres and everyone's calling power calls. It's a power struggle. And I think, you know, it's not even a Māori or Pacific Island thing, it's just a group mentality thing. And when you care about something so much and you want to do something so good, everyone's got their own influence. So that was the biggest challenge, number one. The second one was really identifying those barriers. Now, in my grandfather's generation, didn't talk about anything. You didn't talk about men's health, kids were not to speak, and that was that. So that's the environment in which my father grew up in. Obviously today, you can see that I like to talk a lot. It wasn't the reality for me. So that goes back to that changing dynamics of what it means to be Māori or Pacific, and understanding that actually we do have a voice and that we can get that message out there. So back to the barriers, one of the barriers was that we couldn't get together. It was really tough, and we couldn't sustain that long-term gathering every month, and getting everyone there, it was just really difficult. So with the Dragon Boat Festival, it's 8 weeks. So we do 8 weeks, we start with training, we have a bit of a barbecue, family barbecue, and for 8 weeks, up until the festival, we're together every week. And that's it. Summer months, bring the kids, we're down at the harbour, beautiful weather. And I don't think we could really sustain any more than 8 weeks because it's really tough. But I get to see my uncles and I get to see my family, and that's the most tangible thing that we've got out of it, is that reconnection together so that we can actually talk about it. Now, the Dragon Boating Festival created the right environment, and that was one of the things that we learnt. You have to get the right environment, and you have to hit the message at the right level. So it wasn't this full-on sit down, have a seminar. It was 90% focused on dragon boating and winning, and we get really competitive and we all want to win. So we all show up to training, and we go through that process of becoming a team first. And 5% of 10 to 5% of the rest of the time, it's about promotion. It's about understanding about health. And it's not only prostate cancer, it's health in general. So it's food, it's getting your checks, just really basic things. And the kids come along and we bring everyone together for that purpose. I think from a health perspective, it's really hard to create that environment naturally. But with families, it's really easy for us. And we were empowered because we had some really good support, particularly this year from the Cancer Society, and we had Leanne come onto the boat, and I was really, really concerned because I thought, oh God, she's just going to get there and think, who are these people? She's the only, excuse my, this is the only way I can explain it, but the only white girl on the boat. And I just thought, oh man, oh gosh, I was really, really worried. But she took it on, she came on board, and she really provided that knowledge. So we can do all these initiatives and be fantastic, but if we don't have the right knowledge, then we're not really working well, because we can't provide that up-to-date medical and clinical knowledge about where our family need to be focusing to get general health in the future. So she provided that aspect, and that was a huge thing for us, and it took a lot of pressure off me, because previously we wrote our own newsletters because we couldn't find the resources that could suit the needs of our family. So we wrote our own newsletters. We've got a big family, someone in comms, someone in media, and they were just weekly newsletters with tips and information that was really specific to our own family. And when Leanne came on board, that was one less thing that I had to worry about. So in the first couple of years, there was a really core group of us 5, and I led that group, and we did everything. Now in year 4, it's time to, we've slowly started to fish that out a bit more and get other people to stand up and take ownership. And that's why we brought new people onto the boat that weren't necessarily family, because it was about empowering them to go out and help their family. So with this idea around legacy, I really challenge you to look into your own families, not as health professionals, but as mothers, fathers, wives, daughters, and friends, and have a look to see what's going on in that dynamic. And I know it's hard. We had an uncle who was estranged, and that was really difficult to bring him back, and there's some old wounds that needed to be re-healed and opened up. And I really put that out to you as a challenge, is look into your own family, get that right first, and you'll definitely be able to use that experience when you come and work out in the community. I think that's all. I'd really like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And my Auntie Elaine, thank you for letting me speak before you. She's probably going to come and upstage me now, but I'd like to invite my Auntie Elaine to come and talk about some of the more practical side with caregiving for Uncle Maury, because that's what she did. And yeah.
Thanks, T. This year I was given the position of being the pin-up girl for the newsletter. And so I stand before you all, next year's Calendar Girl 2013. The picture of health, as you can cast your eyes on this lean green fighting machine, and hopefully I don't become a statistic in some of your occupations. Anyway, just to support my niece, and it's quite true, just in terms of what we do, and we can understand that fresh bereavement of our previous speaker, and yes, we are 4 years down. The thing about it, we've read lots of things about cancer and their treatment, and what we've learnt is laughter. It certainly does help a lot of people. We're quite a jovial family. We rip each other to bits. We don't stab each other in the back. We have machetes for that. With the baton that we've given to our niece, unfortunately, you know, you were chosen by the person, whether it's the person who's the victim or the person who is in the illness. And unfortunately for Terina, so whoever speaks the loudest gets the main job. And that would be Terina. Also, she's probably gifted that she's been more educated than most. I support Terina in a lot of things. I would critique everything that she certainly does, and she stands before you because of my support with her. So I tell everybody that. I'm just looking for ticks myself. But in terms of what I had to do, my brother decided that I was going to be the business arm, that I didn't have an emotion, and that I was going to carry out all his wishes. And one thing I did do, and something that I did find, is small things like in public trust. They gave me this document called, it's a wish list that you can actually get your people to fill out, or people who are short in life. And what it does, it's a document that discusses what they want, how they want their legacy, their money and their properties, and certainly what happens with their children in terms of that. And so I sort of put that together for him, and he wanted me to carry his wishes, and it's been 4 years and I'm still carrying out his wishes. We've been given this baton, and it's been a hard struggle trying to get financial. I mean, he was quite well off. I do wish that some of our people would be poor. It's a lot easier to handle. It only happens in 5 minutes and the debt collectors come around the door. And that's the end of my job. But unfortunately, he had a lot of money. Not that I saw any of it, but... and that's been a struggle for me. It's been heart-wrenching. And so I was eliminated from my bereaf to carry out the business. Like people might think, well, she's an iron lady, perhaps worse than the British Prime Minister previous. But I've certainly had to learn to pull in those tears, pull in those emotions and get on with it, because he meant that much to me. Probably it's very hard if you speak to a group, and it is, I don't know, I've always said, when do I get time to grieve for him? When do I cry? And unfortunately for him, the tax department are still chasing him, so I don't get to bring out the hanky until after they've taken all his money and all his assets, and then we'll be having a huge cry, because I know when I get up to the pearly gates, he's going to ask, where the hell's my money gone? And I said, well, bro, our culture is so great at koha, at doing things by, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. And that is certainly not going to be the case when you die, because the taxman will knock at the door and everybody else saying the such things. So I'm dealing with that. But in terms with our family, yeah, we've come a long way. 4 years has been a good learning curve for us all. And just to take on that, I think that from 2 people who didn't get their health checks from males, I would say that they all do. Because those 8 weeks that Terina talked about, it is constantly a reminder to our family. Our family is just not 4 and 5 mum and dad and the kettle. Our family is 360 now, first cousins. We've got 12 brothers and sisters. Our Christmases now have to be split between four functions. If we got a whole family together, we would have to hire out the Wellington Town Hall. So just to support Terina's this discussion that you have, your information, it gets out to so many people. And that's what we could handle, only our own family. Please don't give us any more. We'll adopt anybody. But please, you know, we don't need the big entourage and that. But hopefully they will remember him. And yes, we have to do that paddling again. And yes, I am the cook again once more. But, you know, the work is thankless, but is it? I think not. It's actually quite rewarding. So thank you.
Yeah, I will have. And thank you, Elaine, and thank you, Terina. Well, I'm going to have some questions at the end of session 4. But once again, a great example of what families can do. Don't have to be health professionals. In fact, it's better if we can empower families and community and to do things and to give them the resources. And my colleague Leanne is back from South America. Welcome back from Chile. She was a part of giving their support to the family, to the Cowan whānau.